welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize, and my guest today is a world-renowned life coach, best-selling author, and one of the leading experts on fear in the world. She's a two-time Emmy winner, former head life coach on NBC's Starting Over, and the first life coach ever to change lives on television. For nearly 3 decades, she has helped people face fear, heal trauma, and reclaim their power. And today we're going deep into that, what fear really is, and how to finally break free from it. Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, Rhonda Britten.
I am so happy to be here.
Oh,
I love Stuck in My Mind. Like that is where everybody is. It couldn't be a more perfect title, right? It's the thing that we all are when we are stuck in fear. We are stuck in our minds, and it just goes over and over and over. And we think we're doing something productive, right? We think we're like thinking it through and figuring things out and, deciding. And, we think we're being so productive. Or we know we've gone over the productive line and we know we're ruminating, right, and overthinking. But in the beginning, we think we're doing a good job. We think that thinking is good.
yeah.
Not saying that thinking is bad, but when you are operating from fear, thinking is always going to get you into trouble.
So you said fear stopped everything, right? But your own story begins with an unimaginable trauma. Can you tell us about how losing your parents shaped the way you saw the world and yourself?
Oh, of course, I'd be happy. I'd be happy to. And I mean that not because I'm going to tell a sad story, but because it really did. When tragic, horrible, horrific things happen, and I mean it's cliche to say this, but you'll see how it really informed everything I do today. So what you're asking me about is the worst day of my life, and I believe that the worst day of our lives have a seed of our destiny inside it. It's like a little seed, right? And that worst day is creating that hard shell and creating that trauma and creating that upset, right? But inside of that seed is our piece of our destiny. And I was 14 years old, and I grew up in a little tiny town in Upper Michigan, 360 inches of snow a year. 2 restaurants, Douglas House Buffet Hotel and Big Boy. That was it. We didn't have McDonald's. We didn't have anything fancy. We just had the 2 restaurants. And my parents had recently separated, and it was Father's Day. And my father was coming over to take us all out to brunch, which was a big deal because 3 girls, 2 parents, that's 5 people. We didn't go out to eat. We got a pizza maybe, I don't remember, like twice a year maybe. I mean, it was just too much money, right? And so it was a big deal. So my mother was getting all dressed up in her room. She's putting off her beehive hairdo and her blue eyeshadow and putting on a rose lipstick. And I'm up there. I'm in her bedroom, staring at her, getting ready. And my dad comes in the back door. Come on, girls, let's go, let's go. My 2 sisters are fighting it out in our 1 bathroom. Our house is about 800 square feet. And me and my mom start walking out to the back door to get in the car to go to brunch. My sisters are still fighting it out in the bathroom. And as we start walking out, my father notices it's starting to rain. And so he says he has to get his coat from the car. Now, this coat was a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat. And if you remember, if you were ever around in the 80s and 70s, 80s, Naugahyde, just FYI for the younger people, is fake leather, but it was really hot back then. So my father was grabbing his keys and opening up the trunk. And out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that he did not grab a coat, but he grabbed a gun and he started yelling at my mother, "You made me do this. You made me do this." And he fires. And I start screaming, "Dad, what are you doing? Stop, Dad, what are you doing?" And he cocks the gun again and he points it at me. And I 100% believed I was next. And my father looks at me, the gun between us, and I blink and he blinks and I blink and he blinks. It's like time stood still for a second. And then my mother looks up and realizes there's a gun in my face, and she cries out, "No, don't." And my father, realizing my mother's still alive, takes that bullet intended for me and shoots my mother a second time. And that second bullet goes through my mother's abdomen, out her back, lands in the car horn, and for the next 20 minutes, all we heard was, and then my father cocks the gun a third time, puts the gun to his head, and fires. So in a matter of 2 minutes, I was a sole witness of watching my father murder my mother and commit suicide in front of me. Now, I don't know how other people would respond, but this is how I responded. It was my fault. right? It was my fault because I was the only one there that could have changed it. I didn't jump in front of the gun. I didn't kick his shins, right? I didn't jump in front of my mother. I did nothing heroic. And that moment, that day, basically I split into two, the outside Rhonda and the inside Rhonda. The outside Rhonda is, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I'm good. Fine. I'm just good. Fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. The inside Rhonda, guilt, shame, and oh, by the way, when you watch your mother die and you don't do anything, you don't get to be happy again. That's off the table. That is off the table. So for the next 20 years, I lived in this world of, on one hand, being a straight A student, getting a scholarship to college. So in the external world, I'm fine, I'm fine. But in the internal world, I'd started drinking. I became an alcoholic. I tried to kill myself 3 times. I got 3 DUIs. And the whole time while I was DUIing and suiciding and drinking, I was also going to workshops, going to therapy, reading books. I was trying to save myself. I was trying to do anything I could to help myself to get through this. And so I was living in this paradox. In one minute, I was trying to die, and the next minute, I was doing everything I could to live. And it was that third suicide attempt that I realized something. I realized I'm not very good at killing myself, not skilled at it. And by the way, when you do try to kill yourself 3 times, they do put you in a psychiatric ward for evaluation. And I'm in the hospital psych ward. And after, 2, 3, 4 days, they let me go. I'm deemed not crazy. Go to my little studio apartment and realize that everything I've done, all the therapy, all the workshops, all the, classes, all the books, I had a lot of knowledge. We were talking about that thinking earlier. I had a lot of knowledge, right? But I did not know how to apply it to my life. I did not know how to turn that knowledge into action. I did not know how to start shifting my life. And I remember that day sitting in my little studio apartment realizing I have to start over. Like I literally have to start all over. And I asked myself, what do kindergartners do? Well, kindergartners get gold stars and a calendar. So I literally went down to the store, got a calendar and gold stars. And for the next 30 days, and by the way, I still have this calendar. It's in my office right now. I'm just so proud of it. But for the next 30 days, I gave myself a gold star anytime I did anything, any little tiny movement forward. I mean, if I drank but didn't get drunk, gold star, got angry and didn't break anything, yay me, gold star, right? I'm talking anything. So we're not talking about evolved choices like, I meditated for an hour. No, we're not there yet. But anything, any shift of mind, any shift in behavior, no matter how small, no matter how long, little it lasted, I gave myself a gold star. And at the end of the 30 days, I had a calendar, shockingly, filled with gold stars. And that was what made me realize that I had hope. But more importantly, it realized that I could do something different. And it was also the beginning of the unfoldment of recognizing that what was really holding me back all those years, unbeknownst to me, and I still didn't know it fully, like I'm talking about, I realized it in that moment, but it took me a few more years to really unfold. But really the thing that was holding me back all those years, why my father killed my mother, why my mother stayed with my father for all those years, why I didn't, try to intervene, why I drank, why I did DUIs, why I got suicidal, had suicidal tendencies, is because I was scared shitless. I was afraid. And I had no relationship to fear. I mean, I grew up in Upper Michigan, like I said, and I'm Finnish. I'm 100% Finnish. And what you mean, if you ever know anything about Finns, like they don't feel, right? They don't feel, they don't talk about their feelings. They're stoic. They don't talk, right? So I grew up in an environment where fear it wasn't even a concept. If you would have asked me the day my father killed my mother and asked me if I was afraid, I would have said no. I would have said no. If you would have asked me if I was afraid after I tried to kill myself, I would have said no. Because I had no relationship to fear one bit. And it was only my willingness to actually become humble enough and become transparent enough and to be vulnerable enough to admit all these years why my father killed my mother, why my mother died, why I'm where I am, is because I did not know how to deal with fear. Couldn't identify it, I couldn't see it, and I definitely couldn't move through it.
Yeah. And it's amazing to me, right? Because I know when my wife passed away in
Mm.
2008 in a car accident, and
Mm.
I beat myself up a lot because
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe had I driven her to where she was supposed to go
Yeah.
and not stood home, that she would still be here.
Yeah.
And for many years I struggled with it. Then it was like I lost my mom, and there was just one tragedy after another. I reconnected with my dad, only to lose him.
Mm.
Buried two brothers, uncle,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I got lost. I
Yeah.
got lost in my mind, in my head, and was really was angry
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't. I was like, am I such a bad person that God is punishing me?
Yeah.
And that's how I felt for many years. And
Yeah.
it took me. And the thing I'm blessed, right? Because before my wife passed, she had introduced me to the world of self development. She got me
Mm.
into reading books and developing myself. And when I was going through my struggles, I still had those, like you said, you had all this
Yeah.
knowledge in your brain and you're
Yeah.
not applying it to your life, right?
Yeah.
And then when that point in my life comes and you hear that voice in my head just telling me this isn't your path. This isn't
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be doing.
That's
Like
right.
you're not headed down the right path. Like we need to get you back to where you're supposed to go. And that was a lot of it was the teachings and the learnings I had learned from the books that she had introduced to me to.
Mm.
And so that got me back on my path of self discovery and learning and wanting to improve and seeking the help that, like you said, I went to therapy, sought help, and just started changing my life around.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got out of that mentality that I was angry and bitter and everything, and just started realizing that life happens. Like
Yeah.
these things happen. I can either give up
Yeah.
or I can sh- do what I'm doing now and continue to live and turn my life around and make something of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done. I've been able to. I'm remarried. I have a beautiful wife
Yeah.
that's very supportive. That's sees so much in me
Mm.
and pushes me to be better. And so I'm blessed in that regard. And then all the amazing relationships I've been able to build since I've launched the podcast and I've launched this platform too. And it's giving me an outlet to, yes, to express myself and share my story, because there are people out there that have gone through similar stuff and don't
Mhm.
know that there's other people that have overcome these griefs and
Yeah.
their lives around, and it's possible. So being able to do this and share these stories and have guests like yourself come on and share your story, to me, it's been a blessing, and I've just grown so much
Yeah.
since I've started.
Yeah. It sounds like your wife is that you and your wife had a pact, right? I always like to think of that. I don't know if you think of it that way, but I think of me and my mom and dad up in heaven. And we're not mom, dad, and daughter. We're three angels hanging out, right? And we go, "What do you want to do next lifetime?" And we're like, "I don't know. What do you want to do next lifetime?" And we're like brainstorming and talking about it. And my dad looks at me and goes, "Hey, what about if you help people master fear?" And I'm like, "Me? Help people master fear? Me? Me?" He goes, "Yeah, but something bad's going to have to happen to you." And we're like, "Yeah, something bad's going to have to happen to me." He goes, "Okay, okay, I'll be the bad guy this time. I'll be the bad guy this time. And how about this? I'll be the dad. Hey, about you be the mom and you be the daughter, and I'll kill your mom and I'll kill myself, and then you'll figure it out and you'll help people master fear." And we're all like in heaven going, "Yay! Yay! Right? This is gonna be awesome, right?" And we just don't know I'm gonna have to go through 20 years of, crawling through glass and forgetting this contract that we had. But I love how you talk about your wife, because it reminds me of my contract, because, she fed you so well before she passed. She fed you so well, and you were able to live off that, right? You were able to live off her generosity and her wisdom and her kindness. And that fed you and that allowed you. I mean, she literally gave you the things that you needed to sustain yourself afterwards. I mean, that's pretty miraculous. It's pretty miraculous. Pretty miraculous that you can see it and that you're living it. And I'm so grateful and so glad that you are, happily married and have this beautiful life and a beautiful wife. And it just is a testament to exactly what you're saying, is that people can not only survive their most tragic moments in life, but they can, to use a cliche, to thrive. They really can become fearless. There really is such a thing as resilience. And I know when I was suicidal, it didn't feel that way. It didn't feel that way. When I'm drinking, it didn't feel that way. It didn't feel that way at all. And I remember when I started waking up, like you, self-help books and different things. And I just started, one of my big thing was getting sober. And when I started getting sober and reading, there was a book called Sober Living, a little yellow cover. And it had like grandiose behavior and, boundaries and all these things that I'd like read about and probably went to a workshop or two. But now that I was sober, I could actually see myself and understand it instead of pushing it away. I always say that without sobriety, I definitely wouldn't be who I am today. And that book, I just remember it's this little tiny paragraphs. And I would read it and I'd be like, oh my God, I think that's me. I think that's me. And just the humility and the humiliation I felt and the embarrassment and everything I felt while I was going through that first year of sobriety. That to me is one of my most courageous times because I was willing to feel those feelings. And most people, that's where they get stopped. They don't want to feel the pain of grief. They don't want to feel the pain of forgiveness. They don't want to feel the pain of, getting over. And they definitely don't want to move on because then somehow, just like me, I couldn't be happy for 20 years because God forbid, like you felt guilty, right? I felt guilty. God forbid we're happy. And, it takes great courage to be happy after a tragedy or 2 or 3 or 5.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. It's. I thank her because yes, I went through that like that dark path. Yes, but it was the teachings and the reading and all this stuff that kind of just like this is
Yeah.
not what you're supposed to be doing. You know.
It's in your cells already. It's too late. It's in your cells.
Yeah, like you know what you're supposed to be doing. This
Yeah.
isn't it's just like
Yeah.
and like you alcohol became like my escape. Like that was for me was just a bottle of tequila would just help me like escape at
Sure.
those moments. So I definitely know how how it could have been like for me just dealing with emotion, like just dealing with the emotions and how it took me a while to really be able to express like just everything. It just all
Yeah.
just even admitting now that I felt guilty because I didn't drive her. And
Mm-hmm.
like, a lot of people don't know that because it was something I wasn't at that time willing to share.
Sure.
And I just felt this moment was something like I
Yeah.
felt guilty at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that because every time we admit something, we heal.
Mhm.
Everything that we transcend our shame, every minute that we say, I'm going to speak even though I feel shame or I feel embarrassed or I feel, worried what people think or whatever it is that you're thinking or worried about. And you speak anyway. It is from that place of vulnerability like you just did is so heroic. And that is what heals our soul. That's what heals trauma. That's what heals us. Anytime you have a secret, that shame, burrows itself into our being. And every time we're about to unleash and, be our true self, that secret kind of has wedged somewhere inside of us and says, well, they might find out your secret if you, start doing A, B, and C. I mean, when I moved, so we lived in the house. Shockingly, most people are like, what? We lived in that house still. I walked by where my mother died and my father died every day for 2 years. And then we finally moved away, me and my 2 sisters. And you know, going away, I thought, oh my God, nobody knows me and nobody knows my story. I can be somebody new. I mean, I thought this was like the greatest thing ever, right? And the old saying goes, the only one, you bring you with you wherever you go, right?
Yeah.
And but for a while, I mean, I never told anybody when I moved away from where it happened. I never told anybody that what happened ever, because God forbid you find that out, because then I'm from one of those families, right? What kind of family are you from? I mean, what the hell, how the hell were you raised,
Hmm.
right? If your father has capable of murdering your mom and himself. So it was just this whole, like, I had to keep that a secret, because if anybody found out, it would be devastating. I was for sure ostracized. And then, of course, that created this impenetrable wall that I put up, right? So I couldn't get the love I was so desperate for, right? Unless I was drunk, right? Or drinking, right? I couldn't, and that wasn't love, right? But I couldn't reach out and ask for help because, again, they would find out my secret. If I got vulnerable, they were going to find my secret out. So I had to put this wall up, for 20 years, with drinking and DUI and, like I said, and suicide. And it was whole thing like, oh, I'm having this great win over here. Like I said, oh, I got a scholarship for college. And then I would quit college, right? Like it was never, I could never sustain it because there's so much guilt and shame for being alive. And how dare you? So it really was the willingness, just like you said so beautifully just a minute ago, it's the willingness to just tell the truth of your experience to somebody who you trust, of course, right? To somebody who you trust, somebody who will listen without any judgment, will send you lots of love and hug you physically or hug you, right there with you. And I think that's one of our jobs, me and you, it's one of our jobs is giving people the freedom to feel whatever they need to feel and know that we made it, I made it, you made it, and we were willing to feel all our feelings and we didn't die, even though at times I thought I would, and I'm sure at times you thought you would. And there were times that I was really pissed off that I had to feel these feelings. I was really pissed off that I had these, I didn't want to feel these feelings, and I was pissed that I had to feel them. But the willingness to feel them and decide who I was going to be, that was a big one. You know how they say that in all the self-help books? You get to choose. I never understood that really. And I probably was sober maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years when I finally got like, oh, I get to decide who I want to be. That was mind-blowing.
Hmm.
That people can decide who they want to be, because I always was who I was. That was just who I was, that's who I was. And I really didn't understand the whole concept of you can decide who you want to be. And then when I started understanding, it was like, oh, I see. With every choice I make, I'm deciding who I'm going to be. Okay. And then making some of those choices in the beginning was really scary.
Yeah.
Even though they were positive and powerful, I still felt scared and guilty and all those feelings. And I was like, well, you get to decide who you're going to be, Rhonda.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Even before launching the podcast, I was, I made up excuses. That's why I stuck in my mind as born, because I was in my head for so long making up excuses like, oh, who's gonna want to listen to you? Nope, you're not a celebrity. You're no one. Who's gonna want to listen to your podcast, listen to you speak? You sound like you sound horrible, whatever. Like in my own head, like
Yeah.
this is me talking to
Yeah.
myself. Like self
Yeah,
talk
sure.
can be devastating, right?
Yeah.
And so it was finally the day when I just went, you know what? Let me stop this. Let me stop this fear, and just press record, and that's it. It once I press record and recorded, and
Yeah.
because I had recorded and deleted so many times
Mm,
in the past, and
mm,
when I finally just you said, you know what? Screw it.
yeah.
Record. That became the first, and then when I released it, it was like, okay, this big weight was lifted. Now I just started. It was once a month, and then I started 2 times a month, and then I just started getting more consistent with it,
Yeah.
and then that's when the this was born. Like this has been now going on 6 years now.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, so it's been wonderful. Like being able to build something from scratch and to
Mm-hmm.
see it grow to where it's at now, and to see the progress that I'm making even now, right? From where I first started to even to this episode, the evolution of
Mm-hmm.
my skills on behind the mic and everything else, it's just growth. It's just you can see the
Yeah.
growth in it. And but it came from me facing that fear
Yeah.
and just diving into it. Like, you know what? Let's do this. Like I didn't know what a RSS feed, didn't know
Yeah.
anything. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Like I'm failing by not doing it already.
Yep.
Let's just just kick the fear in the face and just go.
I mean, if you're going to fail, might as well fail doing it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Well, your level of honesty and truthfulness is disarming and really captivating. So I can totally get why you are successful, because there's not many people that really share their heart like you do. So I really appreciate it.
and that stems right from all the loss, right? All the and just the support that like just the support from my friends and family and everything. Even when I was going through what I was going through, I still had people still caring and wanting me to do better.
Hmm.
But it taught me, right? It was something like life is just so precious, and I just want to make sure that when I do communicate with someone and I do have a conversation with someone, that I'm just me. I just want them. I want them to get to know me,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I want to get to know them. And so for me, it's just I just welcome people with just nothing but love, and all my everybody I have on my show. I truly just want to know about them, and
Hmm.
just so it's easy for me to just let them be and let them talk.
Hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you.
So you have a saying, right? You say fear is fear. Fear is fear is fear.
That's
What
right.
do you mean by that?
Well, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna come back to it. I'm gonna say this other thing, and then I'm gonna come back to that.
All right,
Okay.
yeah.
There is nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. And if I could sprinkle dust on the world and have that pierce everyone's heart and that wall that they have up, and really understand that there is actually nothing wrong with them, it is literally just fear tricking them,
Hmm.
then compassion would come forth, vulnerability would come forth, love would come forth, courage would come forth, etc. And so my main message always is, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. And I want you and me and everyone to live the life their soul intended. So fear is just fear is just fear. It's just like water is just water is just water. Love is just love is just love. It's literally an emotion, i.e., a even more of an emotion. It's more like a system, because I've created a system around it, because we all talk about fear, right? The movies, what do? We go and you see Bruce Willis in Die Hard, and he goes, "Fear is not going to get me today." In the Bible, do not be afraid. So we go and see a motivational speaker. We read books, and they always talk about fear. They always say, "Don't be afraid. Here, do this." But just like when I read those books, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I would read these books all about fear. Like I think of Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which of course is a classic. And I remember reading that book and going, but I can't do it anyway. Like I don't know how to do it anyway. I don't know how to do it. Like I get what you're saying. I get the Feel the Fear, do it anyway, but I can't get myself to do it anyway. And so when I started to recognize fear for what it is, I started opening myself up to the insights and the ahas from my students, from my clients, starting to realize that I was actually witnessing a system in play. And so with every client, it became more and more concrete. And so I created something called the Wheel of Fear and the Wheel of Freedom. And so the Wheel of Fear, our fear is just a mechanism. And it is literally wired within us. Like it's part of our neurobiology. We are literally wired for fear. And we are wired to be afraid, i.e., to keep us safe. So fear is one of the instruments that our body and brain and heart use in order to keep us safe. Now, safe, the problem is safe is small, small, not our true self. It is compromising ourselves, but we're safe, right? So fear, the Wheel of Fear, is a 4-part mechanism where you have something called the core trigger. And that core trigger is the thing that drives your fear. It is the thing that drives you. And you are unconscious of it. I've only met like one person in my 30 years that actually figured theirs out without support. And I have created a quiz, which I'll tell you in just a bit about. But there's something that drives you. And people come to me all the time like, oh, I know what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of rejection, or, oh, I'm afraid of not being good enough, or, I'm afraid of this or failure. And I'm like, that's nice. That's nice. That's the fear will let you play with, right? If you're saying, well, I'm afraid of failure, it's like, yeah, the fact that you can say it tells me it's not your core trigger. It's not the thing that is literally driving you in the moments of your life. Now, we have something called the Wheel of Fear and something called the Wheel of Freedom. And I just want to make sure I say this, that the Wheel of Fear comes upon us when we're about to take a risk, right? When we are moving into the unknown, when we are moving into uncertainty. We also have what I said a minute ago, the Wheel of Freedom. And everybody here has experienced their Wheel of Freedom. It is when they're in the flow. It is when life is good. We know who we are. We're comfortable in our skin. We're living our purpose. Like we've all felt the Wheel of Freedom. But what I've discovered, Wize, is that people don't know how to get back to their Wheel of Freedom when they're in their Wheel of Fear. When they're stuck on that cycle of overthinking, that feeling of procrastination, that feeling of people pleasing, that disappointment, that bitterness, that anger, that resentment, et cetera, et cetera. And I could give you a little quiz if you want. When they're stuck in that place, what they do and what we've been trained to do is actually blame ourselves, right? I'm weak. I'm stupid. I should know better. Why aren't I getting this? What's my problem? And we blame ourselves. And that allows fear to keep tricking us and keep that fear in place. If we were able to kind of take it and go like, well, that's not me, right? That's something that's come upon me to keep me safe. It's not me, because your real nature, your true nature would be fearless and courageous and loving and, humble. And, that's who you really are at your core. When you're in the flow, you're all those things. You're kind, you're courageous, right?
Yeah.
It's when we're in fear that we compromise ourselves, that we're bitter and angry and disappointed and judgmental, right? And so what I help people do is, one, identify their core trigger that actually is the thing that runs the whole gamut, runs your whole process. And once you understand your core trigger, you're going to be able to see it faster. And when you can see it faster, you can actually get over to your Wheel of Freedom faster. And if you don't mind, I will give that quiz if we have time for me to give a little quiz, because this is one of the first places that I suggest people start. Because people know already what they think is wrong with them, right? Oh, I'm a people pleaser. Oh, I procrastinate. Oh, I eat too much. Oh, I just lazy. Oh, I just never, right? Or I'm stubborn, right? We all talk about what's wrong, what we think is wrong with us. And so what I'm about to do is give you a quiz to help you identify those things that you know very well. And these are what I call fear responses, okay? So if you're who's ever listening to us, watching us right now, go ahead and shut your eyes. And I want you to nod your head if you do any of these things or feel any of these things. And be honest, audience members out there. So, do you ever deny yourself? Do you ever pretend everything's okay when it's not? Do you ever hide out? Do you ever whine? How about settle? Do you ever compare yourself? What about secretly manipulate? What about get defensive? Judge? What about complain? Procrastinate? Do you ever worry, struggle, try to control? Ever find yourself blaming, waiting and calling it patience? What about deflecting? How about do you ever feel bitter, powerless? Do you ever feel dissatisfied, resentful, entitled? Do you ever feel guilty, disappointed, Are you a perfectionist, a people pleaser? Do you ever feel overwhelmed? What about irritated, like now, me reading these words out loud? What about ignored? Do you ever feel ignored? Self-pity, get into annoyed? Do you ever feel like a victim? So go ahead and open your eyes. And I did not even read them all, by the way. Go ahead and open your eyes, everyone. And are you willing to share how many you got?
Oh,
Percentage. What a percentage? You have
I
90%,
would,
80%,
I would probably
100%?
say 90, 92% around there.
Perfect. I
There was
love it.
there's a couple of ones that I know yeah, I'm not some of those, but for the
Mhm.
most part, a lot of them I was not in my head. Yes.
Yeah. Well, whenever I talk to an audience, I don't care if it's 1,000 people, 100 people, or a private client, most people have around 90 to 95%.
Yeah.
And so this is what I call the language of fear. When you are disappointed, there is a fear underneath that. When you get overwhelmed, there is a fear underneath that. If you procrastinate, there's a fear underneath that. You wouldn't procrastinate if you didn't have a fear underneath that. You wouldn't be a people pleaser if you didn't have a fear driving that. So everybody looks at these behaviors, what I call, like I said, fear responses, and they think, I should know better. I shouldn't people please. I really got to get off my butt. What's wrong with me, right? Complaining, oh, I'm really a horrible person. I shouldn't complain like that. Oh, I'm just being so judgmental, right? So we spend our time putting ourselves down, thinking that shame, thinking that beat ourselves up is going to shift our behavior, is going to change us, which in fact, it only solidifies fear more.
Mhm.
It only gives fear more reign over your life. So the first thing that I ask my clients to do is actually start keeping track of these fear responses in your daily life. And instead of beating yourself up and blaming yourself, just to simply start saying, that's a fear response. That's a fear response. Just relabeling them, reframing them, seeing them, naming them properly will start creating space between you and it, so that that space creates an opening for you to change your mind, for you to have new responses, to have new reactions, new way of seeing the world. It will open your eyes to ways of being and seeing that were unavailable to you. So the first thing to do is just start paying attention to whenever you are beating yourself up and stopping and going, well, if I'm beating myself up, that means I'm in a fear response, right? Because beating ourselves up is the number one way fear keeps us down. Number one way. And we do it to ourselves all day long. And we think we're being brave, or we think we're being honest. I can't tell you how many clients have come to me and said, well, if I don't beat myself up, how am I going to change? It's like, really, has that been effective for you? I know you think that, but really, has that helped you out? I mean, all those years of beating yourself up, did that make you like win the lottery, or, get the job you wanted, or, feel like, even if you went and did the marathon, did you feel great about it? Beating yourself up will always tarnish whatever win you have. Will always tarnish whatever win you have. So anytime you find yourself beating yourself up, stop and say, okay, wait a minute. If I'm beating myself up, I'm in a fear response. Okay, I'm on my wheel of fear. Stop right now. Stop right now. Reframe it. Say, I'm in a fear response. And then go to my quiz, fearlessliving.org/quiz, QUIZ, fearlessliving.org/quiz, QUIZ, and go and find out what your core trigger is. And once you start understanding what drives it, and by the way, when you get your core trigger, most likely you won't believe it. You'll be like, no, that's not my core trigger. That's Rhonda's, this quiz is stupid, right? Because that's how good it is at hiding from you. But choose to believe me. Just choose to believe me for 30 days, 60 days. Just choose to believe me. Like, what if I'm right? And then the next time you complain, get irritated, procrastinate, overwhelmed, beat yourself up, stop and go, wait a minute. Rhonda said I had a core trigger of incompetent. Okay, am I feeling like somebody thinks I'm incompetent, or I could be perceived as incompetent? Or wait a minute, is incompetent, like, am I wearing a t-shirt called incompetent? Like, what's going on? And I guarantee you, more and more, you will see how it is the thing that drives all of your unconscious behavior.
Wow. So can you explain the dark night of the soul and how people misinterpret it?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the dark night of the soul. Because I've probably had like 3 in my life, and I just had one about 15 years ago. And it was at the height of my career, because, that's always the way God works is, I'm at the height of my career. just won my Emmy, and then I'm in my dark night. And a dark night is when it feels like the world has pulled the rug out from under you. That whatever you believed or who you thought you were or what you thought mattered feels completely no longer true. And you feel like you are, in a white room and there is nothing to hang on to. And you look in the mirror and you don't know who you are. And most people during a dark night are not only emotionally exhausted, but they are physically exhausted too. So doing that deep emotional work, that being willing, for me, for the dark night, like when I went through the dark night this last time, I mean, I knew it was happening. The first 2 times I went through one, I didn't know it was happening. This time I knew it was happening. And what I know to be true is when you're going through a dark night, when everything seems lost, when you have no idea who you are anymore, and you just felt really good about yourself a year ago or 2 months ago or something, and now it's like you said, the rug pulled out from under you. What I know to be true is that this is your journey to reach the next level of evolution and of your soul's unfolding. And there are things that most of us cannot strip away and cannot let go of without that dark night. So when the dark night hit, like I said, I knew it was happening and I was like, bring it on, bring it on, right? Now, mind you, when I said bring it on, doesn't mean I was full of energy. I actually packed up my car because I was feeling very vulnerable and I didn't feel like I was safe to be alone, to be honest. I was like, my suicide thing came up again. It was like, kill yourself. And I'm like, I'm not going to kill myself. Thank you. I'm not that vulnerable anymore. I'm not going to get tricked by that anymore, right? But I also knew that I had to take care of myself. So I put everything in storage and I put things in the car. And for the next basically 3 years, I stayed at people's homes. I stayed at hotels when I spoke or taught. And I didn't, I wasn't alone per se, right? For a long period of time. And I just needed that comfort. I needed that compassion. I needed that companionship. And if you would have known me before that, that was definitely not me. Like, I stayed at your house 2 nights maybe, and I was out, right? And I definitely didn't need you. So the dark night, I always say, what the dark night gave me overarchingly, besides lots of things, is if you came to my house and knocked on my door before the dark night, and you knocked at my door, I would open and go, do we have an appointment? What are you doing here? Right? Like I'm busy, right? Now, if you knocked on my door and I opened the door and saw you, I'd be like, oh my God, so good to see you. Please come in. What can I get you? Right? Like the human, even though I thought I was this loving and human focused and compassionate person before, I had no idea the capacity that I was capable of. And I still have a lot of work. I still have a long path ahead of me for that compassion and love. But now, as my coaches tell me, I am softer. I'm a better leader and softer in the process. So that's what the dark night gave me. And I willingly went there because I knew it was going to give me something amazing. And it did.
Awesome. So what does true fearlessness actually look like in everyday life?
You today, as you're sharing about your guilt, that is true fearlessness. You already exhibited it today. When you are, I'm not saying you felt this way, but when people are, when I am, when you are nervous, overwhelmed, apprehensive, and we know we're going to start that podcast, right? And we're just going to start it, even though we feel dumb and we feel inadequate and we feel like we're the stupidest person in the world and who do we think we are? But we're going to press the button anyway and do it. Mm-hmm. That act is pure fearlessness. So it's any time you choose to follow the truth of who you are and not listen to what everyone tells you who you are or what you should do or what society says. It's literally getting to know the still small voice, right? The inner voice, the intuition, what I call the wheel of freedom, who you really are at your core, and making that your guide and friend. Because to live from that place of your true nature is warrior stuff. Because anytime that you compromise yourself, you're highly aware you're doing it, right? You probably can't fool yourself anymore. Wize, you can't fool yourself anymore, when you're withholding. I know when I'm withholding. I know when I'm, too scared to say something or too nervous to do something, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not times to be to have privacy and not share everything. I'm not saying that that's not true as well. But we know the difference, right? Most people know the difference. Most people know the difference between this is privacy versus I'm calling it privacy because I don't want to tell you because I'm freaking out, right? So it's, can you take action, or can you, crawl even? Like when I was going through my dark night, I was crawling. I was literally crawling, and I felt like I needed people, and I had asked for help all the time. And, I was I was teaching a workshop at Kripalu, which is up in northern New York. And it's the largest yoga center in North America. And I taught there for 12 years, twice a year. And I was teaching a workshop. And I was in like my 4th month of my dark night. And I taught for 3 days. And then I stayed to attend a meditation workshop. And, but this is when I was having that suicidal voice. And I was teaching, right? And I went up to the instructor of the meditation retreat, very famous meditation teacher, and was like, "Oh, hello, I just want you to know that I'm suicidal." And I mean, as a teacher, I know how that sounds. I'm sure he's like, "Holy crap, I've got a wacko here," right? But I knew that I had to tell him in order to be held accountable. And I said to him, like, "Look, I'm not going to do it, but I just need to be honest and tell you the truth of what's going on inside me, because I'm going through a dark night, and I need you to know who's in the room, And, obviously did the appropriate thing. He's a master. He gave me to his assistant, who checked on me every day, et cetera. But, that was, I just got done teaching. I taught, right? I ended up, I finished teaching Sunday at noon, and Sunday at 5 p.m., I'm in his workshop telling him I'm suicidal. Like, to me, that's a fearless act. I didn't allow, in the past, I would have never done that because it would have been shameful, or, he might have known who I was, or, other people in the room might have known who I was, right? But it was like, no, I'm going to save myself here.
Yeah, definitely. So for someone listening who feels stuck but can't name why, where should they begin?
Really, I will tell you that the fear responses are going to be one of your number one ways, because part of being stuck is you don't know where you are, right? Like, why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? Well, you're stuck because you're afraid and you can't see it. So if you're able to start just naming your fear responses, giving yourself some space between you and it, instead of saying, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, why don't you change it to, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid? Why don't you start saying, I'm afraid, and then get some truth out, right? I can't tell you, because that's the number one thing people come up to me when I'm doing a speaking event or book signing. They'll say, I'm just really stuck. I can't get unstuck. And, I have 2 answers for that, by the way. One is, you're afraid, right? What are you afraid of? And 2, people sometimes interpret a dark night or a passage on their journey as stuck when they're literally just going through a tunnel. And so if you can, again, reframe it, instead saying I'm stuck, instead saying I'm going through a tunnel, I'm going through some sort of transformation. I don't know what this is, but it's hell, or I hate it, or whatever, but not name it the stuckness. it will have less power over you. When I was going through my dark night, I stopped at a friend of mine's house, one of the houses I stayed at for a few days, and her husband's a therapist. And so we're, having a chat when I get there. And he goes, "Oh, so tell me why you're stuck. What's behind your stuckness?" And I looked at him straight in the eye and go, "I'm not stuck." And I mean, his jaw dropped to the ground because, of course, here I am driving around in my car. you know, you know, I was just on TV and just wrote 4 books. It looks pretty stuck to him. But I didn't feel stuck. I knew what was happening to me. So when we're not moving at the speed of our expectations, right? When we're not moving at the speed of our expectations, we call that stuck. But we have to be able to live fully and completely and happily, whether we're at first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, overdrive, right? We have to be able to be at peace and with who we are at all those gears. And so for those 3 years, I mean, the 10 years before those 3 years on my dark night, like I said, I was on TV every day. I wrote 4 books. I mean, I did international tours, right? Like I was on fire. And then I just stopped, right? I just stopped. And so I think just starting to reframe, again, calling those fear responses, that beating yourself up as a fear response instead of calling it beat up. And then asking yourself, well, what if this isn't stuck? What if this is, I am going through a transformation. I'm going through a tunnel to move to the other side of something that I can't even imagine. But this is part and parcel of that. It's literally, are you looking through the eyes of fear or looking through the eyes of freedom? Because you can look at anything in your life through either lens, and you're fully in charge of which one you're looking through. And when you're looking through the wheel of freedom and you're on your wheel of freedom, you can still be feeling stuck, i.e., but you know that it's not bad. It's a different framing. It's a completely different way of seeing it, right? Yeah. And when you're on your wheel of fear, it feels like hell. And you're disappointed. And you're upset. And you're pissed off. And you're, depressed. So it's all in which lens you're looking through.
Awesome, man. Oh, this has been a great interview. I love this conversation. But we've come to the part of the show where you're going to get the spotlight. You get to plug away, let everybody know where they can find you, your website, everything. But thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I've had a great time speaking with you, and thank you for allowing me to kind of let that out, let that out right there. And like I said, it wasn't something. That's the first time I had ever shared the fact that I felt guilty, and being able to let that out and express it. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And it was a divine meeting today, me and you, a divine meeting. And so where people can find me is fearlessliving.org is my website. Fearlessliving.org is my website. But really what I want you to do is go take the fear quiz. So go to fearlessliving.org/quiz, Q-U-I-Z. Go to fearlessliving.org/quiz, Q-U-I-Z. And it's 9 questions. It's going to take you 2 minutes. Don't fret over it. Don't overthink it. Just read the answers and pick. Just be as fast as you can. Don't overthink it. Just go to fearlessliving.org/quiz and discover what your core trigger is. And that's going to set you on the journey to start discovering more and more about yourself so that you can set yourself free. And of course, in social media, you can find me anywhere with Rhonda Britten, RHONDA BRITTEN. And remember what I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with you. 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 It's just fear.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and we'll chat a little bit off the air, but thank you so much. You've been a wonderful guest. I've really enjoyed it. And again, thank you for allowing me to express that. I really am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Another great episode is in the books. That was really a great episode. If fear has been running your decisions, your relationships, or your life, please go explore Rhonda's work through Fearless Living and Fearless Living Institute. All the links are going to be in the show notes. And if this episode spoke to you, share it. Someone you know is stuck in fear and doesn't know how to say it out loud. So please help them say it out loud. And if you haven't subscribed, please do share, like. You know how your boy Wize does it? Peace out.